We got AI once more. The AI bubble is about to burst by Cole Hastings. I wonder. To be fair, that is kind of true considering that it's just like money laying around. Like people, like investors are like throwing in money as like maniacs, but it kind of, you know, it doesn't. It's not kind. They can invest it, but it's kind of like just like empty. They're throwing money at something that's never gonna last. And to be fair, AI is going to be so widespread at one point that, like, everybody's going to use it. So it's going to be hard to make money. It's going to be, like, a few monopolies and that's it. Realistically. Anyways, we'll jump in.
Can I show you a video really quick? No? Well,
Wasn't that Abraham Lincoln and Zora? What the heck?
I'm gonna show you anyways.
Abraham Lincoln was alive, he would be a Democrat!
No, Abraham Lincoln would be Republican!
I'm quite fond of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Obviously, this is
Based Abe? Based Abe. I see no issue.
AI, but it was actually reposted to Instagram from a new app called Sora. The main idea? Create a social media platform exclusively for AI videos because we were all asking for something like this, right? No, seriously, who the f asked for this? In fact,
Nobody asked for this, and it's kind of off-putting and weird. Because we live at a point where I have to do double takes if I look at a video. I look at a video and I'm like, is that real? Is that real or is it AI? I'm like, I need to sometimes actually do double takes and be like, okay, that's AI.
In fact, who asked for most of the things that these AI companies are building? For a while now, corporations have made it seem like the rise of AI was inevitable. From early pop culture references to advancements in technology prioritizing speed and convenience over everything, artificial intelligence felt like an unavoidable development that's going to slowly seep into more and more of our daily lives.
Yeah, there's gonna be so many like things and that are gonna be replaced by AI. Like you're gonna see. I feel like we're gonna have a massive wave of unemployment coming up. Like most definitely, most certainly, we're gonna have a massive. That's gonna happen. That's definitely gonna happen.
Until it doesn't. I believe the AI industry is in a very big bubble, and with the amount of money that the biggest tech companies are pouring into it, that bubble might burst soon. So today I want to explain to you how the AI bubble might burst, why the acceleration of AI slop is actually a good thing for the future, and what that better future might look like when the dust has settled.
How much are you spending, would you say, over the next few years?
Oh gosh, I mean, I think it's probably going to be some...
Look at this lizard, man. He's a lizard. Nobody can prove me otherwise that this man isn't a lizard. He's a lizard, man.
Something like, I don't know, at least $600 billion through 28.
That's a clip from September 4th at the White House when Donald Trump hosted Mark Zuckerberg and many other tech giants for dinner. What was the $600 billion investment he was talking about? That's the amount of money Meta plans to spend solely on building out data centers, aka buildings that hold GPUs to train AI by...
That is a lot of money. That is a lot of money by 2028. So 2 years away. This is, no, 3 years away. This is 3 years away. Horrendous.
2028. And in 2025 alone, tech companies are projected to spend about $400 billion on infrastructure to train and operate AI models. Derek Thompson put it into a
They're training AI and everything, and most places don't even have a stable internet connection. Yeah, sure, buddy. How about we get every spot, first of all, covered so they have internet before you're trying to force AI on us, which you will.
A rather grim perspective when comparing this type of spending to the moon landing. He states, the Apollo program allocated about $300 billion in inflation-adjusted dollars to get America to the moon between the early 1960s and the early 1970s. The AI build-out requires companies to collectively fund a new Apollo program not every 10 years, but every 10 months. These numbers are incomprehensible, and they simply just don't make sense when you think about it, because how do these companies expect to make all this money back? Well, they don't. They don't expect to make it back, but they're just going to keep spending it anyway. One reason big tech is trying to blow up this bubble even further is because, surprise, it warps how well the economy is doing. According to data from the Department of Commerce, investment in software and computer equipment, not even counting the data center buildings, accounted for a quarter of all economic growth in Q2 of this year. Investor Paul Kodrowski found that in the first half of this year, the data center related spending probably accounted for half of the entire US GDP growth. And for the first time, spending on data centers has now surpassed.
So basically they're pumping in money and they're not getting anything in return, but where's the supposed to go aside from like that the economy is supposedly doing well?
Office construction. But it's not just the big tech firms doing the spending. Private equity firms have been pouring in capital too. Brookfield Asset Management, a major real estate investor, projects that building out AI infrastructure could absorb around $7 trillion in investment over the next decade. And on top of that, there's been reports that these companies are downplaying their infrastructure spending, inflating their profits even further. But before I explain that, I gotta enjoy a cup of coffee from today's sponsor, Cometeer. If you're like me, then part of the reason you drink coffee is not just for the boost in focus, but also for the taste. And this coffee tastes so damn good, I might be hooked. Only problem is, getting a good cup of coffee requires you to either go out and buy a cup.
I don't trust you, that zip was too small. That tiny little zip was too small. I'm sorry, no.
Every day, or go through the entire process of measuring and grinding your own beans, and even then it might not always taste great and usually makes a mess. But Cometeer has provided one of the most unique and clever solutions to this problem that I've ever seen. This coffee is delicious, ready in seconds, and requires no machine because it arrives already brewed to perfection and flash frozen at peak flavor. It comes on dry ice, ready to go straight from your freezer. All you have to do for hot coffee, iced coffee, or espresso style drinks is melt it. The coffee comes packed with twice the coffee, twice the flavor, and yes, twice the amount of caffeine as normal capsules. For a hot coffee, you just pop the capsule.
So you're just selling me a quick addiction. Very interesting, my friend. Very interesting. I know what you're trying to do, and I'd fall for it.
Into a glass and pour 8 ounces of hot water over it. For iced coffee or a latte, you thaw the capsule first, then pour it over ice water or milk. Cometeer sources the best coffee from award-winning roasters like Onyx, Counterculture, and Intelligentsia. I've been exploring their Discovery box, and my personal favorite coffee is Proud Mary's Humbler, which has a chocolate fudge base and a nice bit of sweetness like a date as an aftertaste. Cometeer has completely changed the way that I get to enjoy my coffee. I get to enjoy this incredible cup every time with no machines, no hassle, for just $2 a cup. If you haven't tried Cometeer yet and you want to get really good high quality coffee easily and efficiently, you can get $20 off their Discovery box, which features 8 unique coffees curated by world barista champion James Hoffman. Head over to cometeer.com/Cole or visit the first link in the description and order yours today. An article in The Economist titled "The $4 Trillion Accounting Puzzle at the Heart of the AI Cloud" explores what big tech is doing to cover up their egregious spending. First, they state some of the facts we've already observed.
Again, I am most certainly convinced that they must have a plan. And my belief is, right, most AI models are pretty much free right now. But here's what I believe, since most AI models are pretty much free. Here's what I believe. And that is that, again, in my opinion, that eventually we'll reach a singularity, first of all, where AI can't get better. And then also, we're going to reach a point where all that free stuff is going to be replaced by paying for it. We've seen this before with other things that tried to do similar things. We went away from cable TV because of ads and because better quality and all that stuff, right? Everything was good, and now it's just back to being like cable TV again with all these streaming services. And I feel like this is gonna start out free and just being back to being paid again. So I think that money is going to get back, but they're gonna pay for it eventually. We the consumers are gonna pay for it again.
Between 2024 and 2026, the AI Big Five companies will pour over $1 trillion into data centers and infrastructure. But the way these companies are accounting for the lifespan and depreciation of their AI hardware is where the accounting issues rise. Nvidia, who makes most of the AI chips, said it would create and unveil a new chip every year instead of every 2 years. This means that older models could become obsolete much faster than reported. But at the same time, major firms have extended their estimated hardware lifespans to reduce depreciation costs and make profits look stronger. Microsoft pushed it up from 4 to 6 years in 2022. Alphabet did the same in 2023. Amazon and Oracle changed it from 5 to 6 in 2024, and in January, Meta moved from 5 to 5.5 years. In other words, these companies are making their profits look stronger by claiming that their hardware lasts longer, even as new chips make them obsolete faster. If AI chips actually last only 2 to 3 years instead of 5 to 6, profits could be severely overstated. Analysts estimate 5 to 10% of earnings per share could vanish from increased depreciation, and the total hit across the top 5 firms could reach $780 billion to $1.6 trillion in lost market value. Additionally, that investor I mentioned earlier, Paul Kodrowski, found that big AI firms are also shifting huge amounts of AI spending off their books into SPVs, or special purpose vehicles, that disguise the cost of the AI build-out. This is really just another clever way to move the financing off their balance sheet. Out of these developments and
So essentially lying about how much they're spending and how much they're hiding their spending and how much they're actually making. Interesting. They moved from cable TV because of ads. We moved because tech got better and we have more comfort and control. TV through the internet on the PC or phone. Plus ads got into the internet. We can't just by that and move on. Well, but a big appeal of initially streaming services was no ads. You pay so you don't have also no ads. That was a big appeal though. Not only because of like it being comfortable, but also because like, again, no ads. And now we're right back where we were. We're actually exactly right back where we were. The quality is still, once again, the quality is gone back to dog shit for most of the stuff that's running. We're also back to paying just as much, by the way. We are essentially paying we're paying more, in fact. And there's just as many ads again. We are where we started. We are where we started. It all goes back to where we started. It's just as costly. And I think, again, this is the same thing with AI. We started free, and then we're going to get bombarded with stuff again.
Findings, a concerning trend can be observed, one that might seem obvious to you now, but it needs to be reiterated. This incredible growth we're seeing in the stock market and economy is based on AI hype and momentum more than ever. As Derek Thompson puts it, whereas equity prices have historically followed earnings fundamentals, today's market is driven overwhelmingly by momentum, as retail investors pile into meme stocks and AI companies because they think everybody else is piling into meme stocks and AI companies. But the hype is beginning to die out, and the consequences are not going to be very good. In their latest bi-weekly survey of AI adoption,
well, of course, we have to say, however, we have to see AI adoption rates starting to decline for larger firms. Well, they already have their stuff, so why would they get new stuff? Another thing is also that people are largely already hooked on ChatGPT. I think what's gonna drive mostly AI is long-term use by everyone. There's gonna be like a few, There's gonna be like a few big players in AI that people are gonna use, and that's it. And then the rest just dies out. The rest just dies out. The rest of AI, of all these AI models and firms and companies, they're just gonna fucking die.
The US Census Bureau found evidence of an obvious drop-off in corporate AI use. Usage of AI tools among companies with over 250 employees dropped from nearly 14% in mid-June to under 12% in August. The software itself, in some regards, seems to be regressing too. OpenAI's latest model, GPT-5, performed worse on benchmark tests than its peers. But the most staggering statistic? 95% of US companies that took up AI reported that the software has failed to generate any sort of new revenue. So when exactly will this bubble burst? Because it's gotta give eventually, right? Well, I'm neither an economist nor a historian, so I can't really tell you, but people much smarter than me estimate that all of this spending in infrastructure and AI chips will lead to a crash sometime within the next few years. Economist blogger Noah Smith outlined 4 conditions
Are we saying before 2035? I'm assuming before 2035. That's my assumption. You're right about that. Only the greatest will survive and succeed. Yeah. That's usually what happens.
Of an upcoming crash. The first is that we have a big story about why this time is different. The idea that AI will change everything and that data centers will thus earn huge returns. The second condition is that we have a large and increasing amount of debt being used to fund one single sector of the economy, that's data centers, meaning that the loan's default probability is probably highly correlated. The third condition is that we have an opaque corner of the financial system, that's private credit, that has recently grown from a tiny piece of the system to a very significant piece. And the fourth condition is that we have systemically important lenders, like banks and possibly insurance companies, enmeshed in the new sector of data centers in a multitude of ways. It seems that the rise in AI hits all four of those conditions. I also forgot to mention a couple important points that I want to briefly bring up because I think they're important to raise awareness around. And the first is that these data centers are disrupting many people's living conditions. Residential communities in Northern Virginia, for example, are getting
the world's data center capital has residents surrounded. That's crazy, by the way. I also like it. See, you can't really use the. I don't know if he's gonna bring up the water argument because that's a really shitty argument because a burger needs more than text prompts, like significantly more. A single burger needs significantly more than a text prompt or even a generated picture. Now, with videos, that's a little different. It's the usual script. Just with AI, it'll be very fast, I think. Yeah.
Boxed in by AI giants, overtaking spaces once belonging to offices, churches, and historic sites. A 2024 economic impact report stated that a third of data centers are currently located near residential areas, thanks in large part to, quote, inadequate local planning and zoning. And this is ruining the residents' quality of life. The other thing I wanted to bring up is the absolutely absurd amount of energy and resources required in order to run these data centers. The latest reports show that 4.4% of all the energy in the US now goes toward data centers. The carbon intensity of electricity used by data centers was 48% higher than the US average. At the same time, many data centers are shifting toward more carbon-heavy energy sources, such as natural gas, to meet short-term demand, producing a growing trail of emissions as a result. So now we've...
Yep, but no, that's not going to change anything. Nobody gives a shit anymore about the climate, so it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
Thoroughly explored the damaging consequences this unprecedented investment in AI is going to have on the world and the economy in the future. And since that is the case, why would I ever argue that the rise in AI is a good thing? Well, I'd like to preface this by saying it's undoubtedly done more harm than good. The amount of resources being sapped up just to power this stuff has not at all paid off in terms of what it's created so far. And I don't think that the upcoming job crisis and people losing jobs because the economy is going to go to crap or because AI is going to replace certain people in jobs is a good thing either. The only good thing I'm really talking about when I say some good will come out of this is how this is only accelerating the demand for more human-like spaces in the modern world. It's no secret by now that the internet and social media has gotten progressively worse over the past decade.
I'm gonna be honest, I don't agree. It's gonna get, I'd actually say it's gonna get worse. It's gonna get less human. I ate Sumex, poor Sumex. I don't agree. Sorry, I don't agree. I can't get along with this one. Sorry. Nope. This is not gonna get better. I don't think people, if people truly craved that much more, they would, right? Because he's saying that, but then social media usage in the US is actually rising, not falling. So I wouldn't use that. Nope.
Decade. When all of these platforms started designing future updates around one metric, time spent watching, the social aspect of social media started to diminish. Subscription feeds were replaced with recommended homepages, short-form content grew dramatically in popularity, and the algorithms began to adapt to your interests in real time. This created a fundamental shift in our purposes for spending time on social media. After 2014, people's reasons for using social media flipped dramatically, from one of keeping up with friends and meeting new people, to instead following celebrities and filling spare time. This was no accident. Big tech corporations realized that it's more profitable to foster attention than genuine connection, and therefore transformed creators' incentives from one of building community to feeding the algorithmic void. I'm not sure how many of you agree with me here, but even though I still use social media for a couple hours a day, I feel like that couple hours is just so much less enjoyable than—
True, true. Except when people beat each other's ass on Twitter, then I'm like sitting there and watching it go down, and then I watch a video. I usually do that. That's pretty normal to me. Anyways.
it used to be in, let's say, 2016. Like sometimes I'll just be scrolling or watching some videos or hovering over a video on my YouTube home feed, and I'll just stop and think to myself, like, why am I here? Why am I doing this? I've said this in a previous video discussing these sorts of critiques in more detail, but when creators are incentivized to appeal to an algorithm, this makes their content more algorithmic and robot-like. Whereas in the past you might have felt a real connection with some of the biggest creators on each platform because they just seem like funny, down-to-earth humans, now they feel disgustingly sterile and fake, if that makes sense. And with AI entering the picture, it's starting to become a place that feels less human than ever before. Companies are spending obscene amounts of money trying to figure out where AI can make a profit, which has just created so much junk AI tools and content that cannot possibly last. But if AI slop continues to seep deeper into these platforms, becoming both indistinguishable from reality, yet unmistakably inhuman, and people keep outsourcing more of what once required a human touch, it's inevitable that demand will surge for anything that can proudly declare no AI involved, aka real human creativity and community.
I don't think so. The rise of generative AI will also increase. I don't think so. I actually do fully disagree with him on here. I think when it comes to that stuff, I'm usually quite pessimistic because I know greed and like I know that when something is here, it's there, usually there to stay, and it's not gonna disappear. I mean, that's just with most things. Most new inventions, if they are important enough or big enough, they're usually gonna stick around. And I think AI is gonna stick around for quite a while.
I'd imagine that in the near future, there will be a social platform specifically designed with that principle in mind, that doesn't allow short-form content and prioritizes subscriber-driven communities over recommendations. And on that platform, there could be some sort of filter that automatically bans AI content and creators. And I know that that sort of platform might never be as profitable as what these big tech companies are producing, but there's still, I feel like there's still going to be a demand for something like that if we continue being on the internet. The same can be said for other industries. If AI becomes heavily relied upon in all these sectors, what will emerge from that are these specific human-only creativity and labor sectors, where the usage of AI is banned from them, and maybe the people working in these industries can charge a premium.
These industries will die because they cannot compete. I don't think so. Maybe that's a maybe. That's a big maybe. But like stuff like design, right? Like web design, that's dead. That's dead. Graphic design, that's dead. They're all gone. They're all gone. I'm sorry. This won't be nobody, because they're gonna be way more expensive, so people are not gonna pay for it. Except if the ones that are really, really anti-AI, but the ones that don't have the money for it will never pay for it.
And overall, I think the closer we get to the breaking point where most people are saying this garbage slop is terrible and I can't take it anymore and it's making me feel awful and disconnected from anything, the closer we are to getting a revival of touching grass, aka being chronically offline. In fact, I think we're already seeing these trends creeping up under the surface. Everyone is chronically burnt out from an onslaught of digital devices attacking their retinas, and all this data coming out about loneliness rates and the dangers social media has on mental health. People are even getting AI psychosis now, which honestly is worth making an entire—
They're also... I can... there's gonna be a point where you can just differentiate, and then you're cooked.
Video about. And while there will always be people who succumb to it, the increased awareness of these facts is creating a revival in certain corners of the internet to be human and real and novel without trying to heavily appeal to the algorithm and maximize engagement. In other words, the faster AI accelerates, the faster the desire to return to human accelerates. And I know, why couldn't we have gotten to this point without the economy erupting and AI causing all this damage? I get it, but what you can do right now to change the trend is to keep engaging with the right content, raising awareness around these issues, and choosing to disengage with what big tech.
See, I rarely see AI stuff, and if I see it, I'll just click on not interested, and then it's gone. Problem is, you won't be able to always do that. And the problem will get harder when you cannot differentiate anymore.
Companies want you to engage with. I'm not looking forward to potentially suffering in a few years when this bubble bursts, but I am looking forward to a future where the purpose of the internet reverts back to one of connection rather than optimization. And if that doesn't happen, because it might not, then at the very least, I do think being chronically offline will become the new cool. Sometimes all it takes for a beautiful renaissance to blossom is to be preceded by total destruction and chaos, which sucks, but at least it makes me hopeful for the future. Let me know your thoughts in the comments as always, and if you enjoyed this video, you'll probably...
I'm gonna be real. I'm gonna be real. I'm gonna be fully real. We're cooked. My humble opinion is, we're cooked. That's what I believe. I believe we're cooked. I feel like there's no way of return already. When it comes to the AI stuff, I'm pretty pessimistic because I already know people who don't give a shit that something's AI and they consume and eat this slop like little piggies. So at this point, fuck it. Anyways, like, comment, and subscribe.